Hi there. I have a gift to give you, and it's a link. Um, no doubt some of you have seen this. It's called Randy Pausch's Most Inspiring Interview, The Last Lecture. Um, I forget her name, but it's one of the big news mavens that interviews him. 41 minutes. Um, I keep saying anything's possible, and yet, if you're in mind, you haven't got a clue what that can mean. And in the life of Randy Pausch, there it is, objective, right in front of our face. We can look and see, and it's not just Randy, it's his wife. They're very much a team in this whole thing, which would, a lot of people would think it's impossible to live this way, to have this death diagnosis, so be so inescapable, and still find so much joy in life, in just being, in just living every day. And so let it be our gift to ourselves to take this in, to sit in heart and not just watch it, but to absorb it. Uh, I'll give you a link too to a journal I did, I think it was last year, called Anything is Possible, where I really spent the journal coming from there, doing what I could to shine a light on the whole concept. We are this powerful. This is someone who has taken his power back from anything and everything he ever gave it to. And in living his life just as it is, and in being open and sharing, and just truth, just honesty, it's miraculous. You know, you look and it's a miraculous life. The things that just fall into his lap that happen for him, just the beauty of knowing that anything is possible. Now, it's kind of funny in a way, because here I sit here and say anything is possible, and yet it seems that not everything is. Because if Randy had his druthers, there's no way in the world he'd have his body dying while his children were not yet 10 years old. He has 3 children. And so, you know, he did everything he could. He fought it with all of his might and his gusto and his everything. And it turns out this is the way of it. What I'll say about that is that who and what we think we are, we need to back off from that. Because most often we're identifying with something in 3D, mind or body or whatever. There's a higher self involved here. There are choices that we've made on other levels of our very own being that it's time to own up to. That too is us. And so the conscious mind can make one choice, the subconscious another, and the superconscious can overrule the whole lot. Okay? So we do require, for higher consciousness, a broader definition of self. It's time to scrap the old one. Remember, everything that we believe is largely junk. Our beliefs are just the best we've got currently. Hopefully we're all on the lookout. We're observing and we're watching reality to find better beliefs. I'm excited when one of my beliefs goes crashing down, when someone proves me wrong, as it were, or shows me something I hadn't seen. I think it's absolutely delightful. It means that something that was old and in the way can now be swept out of the way. It means a greater measure of freedom. Attitude is everything. That's what I want us to get from Randy. I want us to look and see and to be that man and his wife. Be that. You are that. you have the right to perceive and to own it. Chances are very good it's not going to come crashing in on your conscious mind instantly, and all of a sudden you're going to be so totally attuned to the guy that you know all his thoughts and the rest of it. But even so, that too is possible. Any freaking thing is possible. Anything. Drop the barriers, drop the limits, pull the key out of your breast pocket, open the prison door, and escort yourself out. Let's stand up and stand in heart and just take a new look at life. That's what I counsel all the time. Observe. Look. Have a flexible perspective. Until we realize that we're the ones imprisoning the self, it's not going to change appreciably. Maybe we can move a few things around. Maybe we can put some pretty curtains over the prison bars in the window or something, We can make some truly inconsequential changes to things. But it takes more than that to be free. And maybe what it takes is a truly burning desire. Now, I'm not saying be free of 3D. That's what I used to say. I used to blame 3D for all of my problems. I considered myself a higher dimensional being than this, and I just didn't see what I was doing stuck down here and having all of my decisions invalidated by circumstance and life, and I wasn't a happy camper. Though I was on the surface. It's amazing. But it's on us to wake up. And 3D is not the problem. It just isn't. There's nothing wrong with 3D, friends. Sit with that a minute. There's nothing wrong with 3D. Be still, be in heart. In heart, stay there. There's nothing wrong with 3D. Ignore the mind. There's nothing wrong with 3D or ugly. We're imprisoning ourselves. We're creating all of this. When will we stand up and take a new look, grab a higher perspective, put on heart vision? 3D isn't the problem, we are. And look at our resistance to life. Life is simply what is. It just is. It doesn't deserve any blame for that. There's nothing and no one to be angry with. There's not a bad guy to be found. Can you handle it? No bad guys? The powers that were, the Illuminati, all the rest of it, it's a story we've been working with, playing with, believing. It's a story. Can you put it down? Can you close the book and just set it aside and find yourself, capital S? You're divine. That's the option. That's the opportunity here to step into and be a source being, divinity, robed in flesh. Actually, it's not quite that way, because the body doesn't contain you. You contain the body. You contain the earth. You contain the cosmos. You contain it all. But you certainly contain the body. So start out by just expanding out into the room. You're the curtains. You're the floor. You're the roof. You're the fan. You're the cat. You're the table. You're the computer. It's all found inside of you. This is a virtual reality. Just like a hologram, you can take any particle or piece of it, cut it up into a bazillion million little pieces, and they'll all contain the whole. Leave mind out of it. You see, we have a higher mind. This mind was useful for exploring 3D. Most useful, necessary, wonderful, great. Brought a lot of great things forth. Look at literature. And even science. Sure, science has been great. It's just been misused. All the good stuff, you know, the government and the alphabet soup guys come in and take it over. Or they buy up the patents for the free energy, the carburetor that gets 500 miles to the gallon, and suddenly that disappears and the inventor is never heard from again. I mean, you know. It's interesting, this game we've been playing, isn't it? Try not to resist. Don't try not to resist. There's no resistance. When you find yourself is not in resistance to any of this. And you can know that that peaceful self is. You don't have to become it. You don't have to earn it. You don't have to go study under some guru. You don't have to go do all kinds of practices and lock yourself up in a, you know, like a hermit in a mountain cave. You are it. It just is. There's an isness going on here. I recommend we do what the Hopis say, push off from the shore and just float on the breeze of the isness. Ignore mind, ignore mind, ignore mind. You know, let it hamster wheel. Just turn away. Keep turning and facing heart. Your perfection is. And the more we can let go of our beliefs on things, most particularly our beliefs around who and what we are, the better. If we could just begin to notice how we resist life, how we resist what is, basically every minute of the day, that would be so awesome. It really would be. Can you imagine the tsunami of peace crashing around the world? Just everything and everyone suddenly having much more than just a taste of peace and real contentment. He is rich who is content with what he has. Or she. Let's not play those kind of games. I like it that you can write she as S/HE and include both. This gender thing isn't real either. You know, we're here and we're balancing out the yin and the yang. And I constantly call for balance, doing what I can to help my brothers and sisters realize that we need to acknowledge and work with our dark side. I was one of those only light, goody-goody, you know, we all were. That's how we were programmed to be good little girls and boys. And to have guilty consciences and all that kind of... It was games we were playing. It's okay. There's nothing wrong with those games. There's nothing wrong with anything you or I ever did, thought, or said. Be in heart. Don't listen to mind. Just be in heart. Listen to your heart. Hear what your heart has to say about these things. And just be silent. Give it a chance. You can sweep it out later. Meanwhile, give it a chance. You can experience so much more as your self-definition shifts. It's like you giving you permission to be who you are. And who you are is undefinable. I mean, we can use words like awesome and divine and so on, but where we're going, friends, words are impotent to contain. Even to point. You know, at some point, you're just mute with it, and suddenly you're in heart, and only the higher dimensional way of communication, which is a total sharing, which goes so far beyond telepathy. There's just no words. That will be the new way of communication. The new way of knowing won't be to study something and to read and to go linear, page by page, grade by grade. You just get the knowing. You want to know something, and all of a sudden you get a download. And it's massive, and there's no words. There's no words. Words are a linear way of sharing, and they're okay for now, but we're pushing the boundary here. We're pushing the edge. And a lot more of us are waking up to the reality that any video like this, any book like this, is communicating on far deeper levels than what's accessible to the linear mind. And we can tune into those levels, and we can be getting the transfer that way. It's ridiculous to try to put this stuff into words, just erase what I just said. It doesn't touch it. And sometimes it's better to say nothing, because your own heart will speak. Your own heart will guide, and your own heart is so out of this world awesome that it's truly a magical kingdom, the kingdom of heart. Are we making the shift? Namaste.